You're very welcome to the, I suppose, the second edition of Treaty Talk this week. Again, recording on Wednesday. Things just got in the way, so we had to pre-record. So this we got live on Thursday morning. Yesterday we would have had the Limerick Senior Hurling and Premier Intermediate Hurling Championship final preview. You can go check that out on our YouTube, Twitter, or Facebook. Today, I suppose we're back to our normal Treaty Talk where we kind of go through everything else Limerick GA. So obviously, if you're looking for that senior hurling or intermediate hurling, you're in the wrong place. But for today, we'll be looking at the two football finals, intermediate and junior A. There's also Munster ladies football action over the weekend. Looking forward to things outside of the hurling this weekend. And obviously, we have the All-Stars this Friday, so we'll be going through our All-Star teams, and I suppose who we think they're going to pick is the main thing for it. So stay tuned for that and more.
The impression the game you get out of it, what you put into it. It's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tommaso Shea. He deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word go today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Carey. Carey leading the charge of the left brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it high.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.
How are we keeping, Matt? We're recording, I suppose, on Wednesday afternoon, the 26th of October. I must apologise for my voice. I'm a bit run down with the flu, but I'll be fine. But county final week, Matt, you know, as you said in the previous podcast, these are the weeks we live for.
Absolutely. And, what a weekend it is for Limerick hurling and football fans, in that we have two hurling finals and two football finals. I suppose, the old chestnut, again, a clash of fixtures. We'd love to see them all, and there's a huge clash on Saturday when we have three fixtures on at, I think, actually the same time, because we have the hurling game in Kilmallock between Monaleen and Rough, and you have Broadford and the Piercing, and what a final that promises to be. And then you have a novel Junior A final between Granabel and Mungret St. Paul's. So then, of course, all building up to the big game on Sunday. So it's really, really a absolutely fascinating weekend of Gaelic Games activity in the county. And it will give you an idea of the spread of games and the amount of games and the amount of activity that is going on weekly in the Limerick GA calendar, which is absolutely phenomenal. I would not swap jobs with Mike Reardon for all the tea in China, Jack, because when you sit down and trying to make sense of all the fixtures, try to get them all down, ensure that they're played, ensure that there's support in place for each game by way of referees, by way of officials, and all that sort of thing. It must be a logistics nightmare, because mentioning those four finals this weekend, Jack, we've a whole plethora of under 21 hurling games over actually spanning out until next Wednesday evening. We're into the bank holiday weekend. They're on Saturday, they're on Sunday, they're on Monday, they're on Tuesday, and they're on Wednesday. At which stage, I would imagine, Jack, because the under 21 groups tend to have four in them, that we should be down to quarterfinals in the hurling. And you saw yourself, I sent it to you, that there's a schedule already in place for the football. And also this weekend, there are three quarterfinals of the Junior B Football Championship. You have Knockadary and Ballylanders, St. Kieran's and Castletown Ballygrand, Kildimo, Pallaskenry and Ula. And the fourth quarterfinal is on the following week between Knockon and the Piercing. So, a huge, huge weekend of activity right across the county. and across the codes as well. So, yeah, look, these are great weekends.
Yeah, we also had the All Stars Friday, and we're well aware of your relationship with the All Stars and the committee, and we'll get to that
Well,
towards the end.
I would say my relationship with the All Stars is fraught, but they will have an opportunity on Friday to redeem themselves somewhat.
Yeah, that's the hope anyway. But we'll start with the intermediate football final between Drum and the Piercing this Saturday, 3 o'clock in Askeaton. And looking at the two clubs involved, very, very recent experience in the senior championship. Obviously, Drum went down 2020 in the Piercing last year, and two teams that will feel they belong in the senior championship. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, but full credit to both sides for resurrecting their fortunes, and it was so easy to go away and wallow in their woes of relegation, but they didn't. They have both bounced back and are rightly, deservedly through to the final. And very interestingly, Jack, both sides topped their respective groups. Which gives you an indication that the two best teams over the competition are in the final. Now we spoke at length about the situation with the Piercing, and it was far from ideal, but Wayne Cronin, to a certain degree, that their captain clarified that sense, in that they played a lot of challenge games. But it doesn't get away from the fundamental point here, Jack. And we'll be talking more about it when we're talking about the Junior A Championship. That at intermediate championship level, there should be no such thing as walkovers. And two of them in the one group, as to me is unforgivable. Now, I ask myself the question: is it the clubs or is it the system? But doing nothing to ensure that it's not replicated is not an option. We just cannot have it happen again. Like it could very well have proved costly to the Piercing, in that they had, Drum had their full complement of 5 championship games in their group. The Piercing had 3. So apart from the Piercing, it's a general point I'm making about this whole thing of walkovers. Nobody wants walkovers, and it's not good for the integrity of the competition. But getting back to, Jack, what you asked me first about, which is the game, it promises to be an absolutely fascinating game, as you rightly said. These are the sides that were relegated over the last 2 years. Now, the Piercing, and I suppose it's fair to say as well, Jack, that whilst the Piercing had been flirting with relegation for a couple of years, so too had Drum. Like, they had won a relegation final to stay up against St. Sinans in 2019, and so it was a steady decline in both sides, and the revival of the Piercing probably has been much faster than it has with Drum Broadford, because it took Drum Broadford 2 years to make the comeback. And quite honestly, I saw him last year, and the perception would have been going into this year's championship. It was something like Kildimo Palace Kenry last year, who came from nowhere to win the championship. Drum Broadford have done something similar this year, because, like, Jack, the omens were not good early in the championship for them, because they were lucky to get over newly promoted Father Casey's in the opening round, and they lost heavily to Rathkeil in the second round. So, like, their start to the campaign was anything but ideal, but in typical Drum fashion, they've never done panic in Drum football. and patience is in abundance out there. So they regrouped for the final 3 games and had impressive wins, you'd have to say, over Mungret St. Paul's, Gerald Griffins, and Palace Green before beating St. Sinnans in the semi-final. So, like, they're in the final on merit. They're in the final with a rich pedigree. And, of course, over the last 20 years, since the turn of the millennium, Drumbradford have made a tradition all of their own. And like, you know, they have raised the bar in Limerick football. Like in their spell from the time in which they were promoted as intermediate champions in '99, in the 22-year spell they had won 7 county senior titles, and was beaten in 3 or 4 more. And most significantly of all, Jack, you know, they had broken a real barrier for Limerick football when they won the Munster Clubs Championship in 2008, and that included a win in the semi-final over Nemo Rangers, who are the competition specialists. And like, you know, Derry McCarthy and Gareth Noonan, who will be lining out on Saturday, are survivors from those days. So there is a link. So if you're talking about experience in drum, there you go straight away. Two key players. So, like the transformation now, I saw Drum in the quarterfinal last year against Rathkeale. And whilst they only lost by about 3 or 4 points, they were damn poor. They were damn poor. And, you know, if you ask me on that evening, what would Drum's prospects going forward? I would not have painted a very optimistic picture for them, I would have to say. But like, they have regrouped, they've got it together. There's no doubt they have a talented squad, a squad with a very good mixture of youth and experience. And as I said, they're in Saturday's final on merit.
Yeah, certainly on merit. I think, go on.
For the Piercing, you have something similar, but the Piercing revival has been instant, and of course that is not particularly peculiar in Limerick football in recent years, because Adair were relegated and came straight back up again and have since gone on to win 3 county senior titles. So, are the PSG going to emulate that? I don't know. First of all, they have to get over the hurdle of Drumbradford on Sunday. But they have rebuilt. They have a lot of young players in, and who, you know, will probably be playing in the first final. And you know, it'll be a special day for them. But you know, they have their experienced players as well. You know, the Wayne Cronins, the Conor Codys, the Owen Sherlocks of this world, Anthony Kavanagh, Dean McLaughlin. These players have been around the block for quite a bit, and would have a considerable amount of seeing and experience to link up with the younger players. So it has all the ingredients of a fascinating game, Jack. And I honestly thought that you know, going into the semi-final, I have to say I thought the Piercing Spruce was cooked. Not that there was anything at all wrong with their team or their squad, but I thought that the preparation, and I don't want to hog it anymore, because of the fact that they had got a couple of walkovers, because of the fact that one of those walkovers was in the last round, and they had qualified directly for the semi-final, which meant there was a 6 or 7 week lapse before they played the semi-final, but they got over it, and it's testimony to their character and the level of preparation that went on undercover, under radar, and here they are in the final, and justifiably so.
Yeah, justifiably so. I think, you know, and even with all the walkovers, if a team tops their group, you know, and both teams top their group, they're, you know, setting out their stall for the year, and it's an intriguing final matchup. And I think it's the the theme of the weekend is, all the finals could go either way. There's no real standout favourite in any of the finals, and that's what you want in a final. But we will get to your prediction for that game later on the podcast when we do the two football finals together. But moving on to Crewe at the same time on Saturday, Mungret St. Paul's versus Granagh Ballingarry in the Junior A football final. I suppose teams at differing ends. Granagh Ballingarry were last year Junior B champions. Mungret, are kind of, that's their second team. They've been knocking around that area for a long while. Their intermediate team just haven't got the job done. They've been perennial contenders in the intermediate championship. But I suppose firstly for Mungret, it will be a huge chance for them to get some silverware because, for the intermediate team, they've just missed out in the last few years.
Yeah, and full credit to Mungret to be putting out a team that can be so competitive at Junior A. At Junior A level, it's full marks to them. But this is a competition, Jack, that has been pockmarked by a phenomenal number of walkovers and clubs pulling out of the competition after playing one or two games, which is totally unsatisfactory, and allowing the possibility of this this thing to continue is certainly not an option. It's something that has got to be looked at and look at the format again, because it's unsustainable, this type of thing. And listeners will think I'm going half mad about walkovers today, but you can see come the end of the season how they can impact on various teams and what have you. But it's going to be a very, very interesting final now. For Granagh Ballingarry, it has been a fantastic rise through the ranks, Jack. Like it was only 12 months ago that they were crowned Junior B champions. So, like the trajectory for Granagh Ballingarry football is upwards. Now they probably, I was just looking at their squad, and there was quite a crossover between the players on the junior squad and those on the intermediate hurling squad. Now the intermediate hurling, unfortunately for Granagh Ballingarry, is off the pitch now as they lost in the Piercy on Sunday. So it will mean that the full focus this week, at least, leading into the final, will be on the football final, and like they will not be trying to juggle between the possibility of being in two finals and players playing in both finals within 2 weeks of each other. So now Mungret have a squad, as I said, full credit to Mungret for a second squad getting to the Junior A final. They have a squad that is drawn from a lot of very, very good young players that have come through the ranks in Mungret. And I suppose one of the most competitive teams in Limerick at underage level for the last couple of years has been Mungret St. Paul. So like they will be getting a dividend off that. I think they won a Premier Minor or two along the way. So there'll be players off that. So it's all set up for a very, very good final, Jack.
Yeah, it's interesting just looking at their pets that Granagh Ballingarry started, I suppose, life in Junior A with a loss. They've been perfect since, on beating Herbstown fairly comfortably in the semi-final, 116. The 10 points shows that progression. Mungret St. Paul's then have won 5 out of their 6 games, only losing to Ballybrick and Bournemore, and beat Camogue Rovers in the semi-final, who were finalists last year. So I suppose when you weigh up the grand scheme of the championship, to two deserving teams are in the final. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, and you talk of Camogue Rovers, they're finalists last year, and they won the league this year and won it very, very impressively. And they would have had they were a club that would have serious ambitions about going a step further this year. But we spoke earlier in the podcast about the difficulty of beating a team twice in the championship, and we referenced and spoke about Effin and Monaleen. If you look at this championship, Granagh Ballingarry had to play Hospital Herberstown in successive weeks, or 2 weeks apart, and whilst they only beat them by 2 points, in the group game. When it came to the semi-final, they had 9 points to spare. So it's difficult but possible, I suppose you could say, because we have two clear examples of where it has been done. So yeah, look, it's a final I would love to be at, but unfortunately I can't because I'll be tied up with the game in Kilmallock. But it promises to be a very, very good game.
Yeah, it's an intriguing game. Two evening match teams. I know Granada Ballingarry very well from Glen Junior of Palestine, and I suppose they're a team that hurling came first and they had the capability in football, but it's very hard to juggle. But they seem to be managing that this time around, and they'll take some beating, but Munger are the more seasoned team in the championship. It's an intriguing one, all right, and we'll get to a prediction later on the podcast. Before we get into All-Stars, both of the Monaghan and Ula ladies football teams have Munster finals to look forward to. Monaghan are back in the final after losing last year to Castleline and Desmond. They will play this year in the final after beating Fergus Rovers at the weekend, 11 points to 4 in their semi-final. Fairly comprehensive from the West Limerick side and looking to go one better than last year. And obviously Ula beat Fireys from Kerry in their semi-final. They obviously won the intermediate championship in Limerick. They're playing junior and Munster, but fair play to both those teams. That it was a tough Limerick campaign, and to be able to go back to the well and get to Munster finals is brilliant recognition for the growing aspect of ladies football in Limerick.
Absolutely, they've struck a blow in the provincial championships for Limerick ladies football, and it was very, very interesting. And I said it to him on Sunday when I was speaking with Martin O'Sullivan, the Monaghan manager, after the Newcastle West semi-final win. That immediately after winning the county final, when we were speaking with him, and I think were you there, Jack, and we interviewed him. The focus had immediately turned to the provincial championship, which was to me was a very, very good sign in their hour of a great victory, in their hour of completing back-to-back titles. I was amazed at how quick and seamlessly they seemed to be able to switch the focus immediately to what Martin at the time described as unfinished business in Munster. And by God, and they've done it the hard way, Jack. They've gone to Kerry to beat Crokes. They've gone to Clare to beat Fergus Rovers. And the provincial final is in Mallow on the 6th. It's actually clashing with the Limerick Senior Football Championship final, and therein lies a problem for
a few Newcastle team.
For Newcastle West and Monaghan, because Mike Quilligan, who is part of the management team of Monaghan, is the Newcastle West goalkeeper, and of course Martin O'Sullivan, who is the long-time Monaghan manager, successful manager, is a selector on the Newcastle West team. So those two lads are going to be faced with a serious dilemma on Sunday week, and let's hope that there will be a meeting of minds somewhere along the line that will accommodate two men that have given a fantastic contribution to the GAA across the codes, and they deserve to be accommodated. Like we had a situation on county final day when James E. Kelly is also involved. So when Mike Quilligan and Jamesy had to make a mad dash away at halftime in the county final to play a senior football game with Newcastle West in the championship, and it was a vital senior football championship game because it was a winner-take-all game with Father Casey's, with a semi-final place up for grabs. So let's hope that there is a meeting of minds on that one, because it would be so unfair to the lads to be put in that dilemma. And now Ula also had a very good win. Now I'm not sure who they're playing in the final, Jack, but I know Monaghan are playing Mullinahone from Tipperary.
Yeah.
But they had a very good win over Fireys, but to put it into context, like it's Ula's first sortie into provincial championship. So like that, and to go to Kerry, and not just to win, but to win so convincingly, it augurs well going forward, Jack. And I know we'll probably be speaking more about both finals in 7 days' time in the next podcast. But in the meantime,
we will, of course.
Happiest congratulations to everybody involved with both clubs. It's been a phenomenal achievement, and let's hope girls go on and bring us back 2 provincial titles.
Yeah, that is the hope. Also on this Sunday, I suppose before and during the county final, they'll be remembering the Limerick team of 1997 that won the league. I know you're involved with that, and a lot of great players on that Limerick team that just didn't get the All-Ireland, they so richly deserve. But nice to recognise the team of 97. I think there's a banquet beforehand, and there'll be, I suppose, displayed to the crowd at halftime on the Gaelic grounds. I know you're involved in that.
Yeah, Jack, I'm just doing MC for the lunch, and that's on in the Strand Hotel, and it's a privilege to be asked to do it with a fantastic group of players like who won, Jack, a unique league. I suppose any competition that you win, you tend to think that it's unique, but strangely, the final was played on the 5th of October 1997, 25 years ago, Jack. But the league spanned right through March, April, May, June, and then went into hibernation, or what's the equivalent, the summer equivalent to hibernation, whatever it is. But then was finished out in October. But that was brought about, Jack, by the fact that the Central Council in 1996 had made a decision to disengage with winter league hurling, because prior to that, the league you start in October and span up to April. Now this was before you were born, Jack, but that was the league, because the championship used to be scarcely over when you were into the following year's league. But in '96 they decided to dispense with that practice and go and have it in the calendar year. And they made a decision at the time to avoid playoffs, because there used to be a myriad of playoffs, and they decided to opt for scoring difference or scoring average. But Limerick won the first league under that format. Now, Jack, they did it a very, very hard way. And I just won't take your time now or hog it at this stage, but just to say that they had to beat Kilkenny twice in Nolan Park in the first round. They beat them by a point in the first round, and they again met in the semi-final. And despite Limerick and Kilkenny finishing level at the top of the group, but Kilkenny had a better scoring difference because this predated the head-to-head in the GAA. And again in the semi-final, but Limerick won by 9 or 10 points in the semi-final. So, and then they had to face Galway in the final in Ennis, who were the only team that had beaten them in the group stage and had given Limerick a bit of a trimming, you'd have to say, in Athenry. So going down to Ennis that day, Galway would have to be hot favourites, but Limerick came out of it, managed by Tom Ryan. Came out of it with a 3 points victory, and it's just going to be recalled on Sunday. And like some of the great names like Kieran Carey, TJ Ryan, Gary Kirby, the Nash brothers, Stephen McDonough, Joe Quaid, Dave Clark, Mike Houlihan, the names Mike Galligan, the names just Frankie Carroll, the names just roll off. They were all involved in it. And as you rightly prefaced our discussion on it by saying, Jack, that, definitely there was All-Ireland potential in that team. So I'm really looking forward to Sunday. And I hope that when they trot onto the hallowed turf of the Gaelic grounds at halftime on Sunday, that they will get the reception that they richly deserve.
Yeah, that would be the hope, that they do get that reception, that they definitely do deserve. We'll finish with predictions as we always do, but before we get into that, we'll kind of do our own little predictions for All-Star Awards. And we've made no bones about it. I suppose you're somewhat disdain for the All-Stars sometimes. I think it's unfair. Certain times players are left out. Look, there's nothing you can do about
I
that.
wouldn't say I wouldn't say disdain, but I would
Yeah.
say the concept of all stars, I think, is very, very good.
Oh, definitely.
But sometimes, and I suppose I'm in an absolute majority that would be differing with the selections from time to time. It comes with the territory with these things, but I had a particular gripe over a particular position in a number of years, and what we're going to do now, Jack, I presume, is we're going to second guess what the august body of selectors that pick the All Stars, rather than who they will come up with. It's just not our opinion. It's our opinion on what we think, and what we think they're going to come up with. So, if have you them on the screen there?
Yeah, I'll get up the first set for here. The goalie and the defenders. We have goalkeepers Éanna Murphy, Owen Murphy, and Nicky Quaid of Limerick, and then defenders Sean Finn, Barry Nash, Mike Casey, Tara Burns, Declan Hannon, all Limerick. Mikey Butler, Hugh Lawler, Richie Reid, Paddy Deegan, Kilkenny, Paul Flanagan, John Conlon, Diarmuid Ryan, David McInerney, Clare, Dahi Burke, Fintan Burke, Pádraig Mannion, Galway, Kieran Joyce of Cork, and Damien Reck of Waterford. So, if you'd like to kick us off, Matt, and again, I think it's going to be, for me anyway, straight away, it's going to be what we think is going to happen, not necessarily what we want to happen, but it's what we think is going to happen with regards to the goalkeeper. So, if you were to second guess the All-Star committee,
well, I would challenge the All-Star committee, or whatever they are, to come up with a semblance of a cogent argument to say why Nicky Quaid shouldn't be the All-Star goalkeeper.
And you think they will pick Nicky?
I don't know, but as far as I'm concerned, Nicky Quaid is the All-Star goalkeeper.
Yeah, I've it in brackets here if I have a disagreement with him, and I have Nicky Quaid, but I think they'll go with Owen Murphy. Not that Owen Murphy isn't one of the best goalies of all time, but I think they're two of the best goalies of all time. Don't think there's really much.
This is not a reflection whatsoever on Owen Murphy. An absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. Fantastic goalkeeper. Nicky Quaid has been the complete goalkeeper. We fully won't realize how good he is until he's gone.
Yeah, hopefully we won't have to worry about that for a while.
No. And the contribution he makes, not just in his goalkeeping duties, but his contribution with puck out distribution and, of course, leadership. Nicky Quaid, goalkeeper.
Yeah, again, as I said, I think it's going to go to Owen Murphy, but I think Nicky Quaid is the deserving goalkeeper. But look, we hopefully that you're right and I'm wrong in that regard. The defenders, and I'll just pop them back up on the screen there. Your full back line, Matt, I presume we will go through the Hurler of the Year in a while, and Barry Nash is one of the nominees. I'd imagine he's first choice.
Well, I think the full back line, I think, even though I've heard a number of people making cases for Mickey Butler, but I can't see, it's very, very hard to look past Sean Finn, Hugh Lawler, and Barry Nash.
Yeah, I do have one. I have one difference too. I think Barry Nash is going to get one. There's no doubt about that. I think Sean Finn should get one. I think maybe voter fatigue kind of comes into it, that if you're voting for the same player every year, sometimes they can miss out. But I think they're going to move Sean into fullback and put Mikey Butler into the corner. I think we're both in agreement it'll be a split between two Limerick, one Kilkenny. you have Finn Nash and Hugh Lawler, who I've written down here as well, but I went Mikey Butler, Finn and Nash.
But that would raise questions about it, because about the All Stars, because if that were to happen, because there's no doubt Sean Finn is the best right fullback in the country.
Yeah.
Hugh Lawler on his performances during the year has been the best fullback, just ahead of Mike Casey now. Very, very close call. And in the other corner, you have Barry Nash, without question, the best left fullback in the country.
Yeah, I understand that argument, but I suppose you could make the argument that a lot of teams only play two inside and one kind of further out, and Barry Nash would be the example of that he's, probably between halfback and fullback. So that's why I think they'll go with that. But I mean, we're only second guessing these people. If it was for me, Sean Finn would be on that team every day of the week, regardless. Nash and Finn, and then pick up Butler and Lawler, whichever one. And I think Mike Casey deserves a real strong mention. There's not really much talk on Mike, but to come back from injury and start every game in an All-Ireland winning campaign, after 2 years out, is not many would do it, but Mike was flawless. Half-back line, again, All-Star or Hurler of the Year nominee at 5. I think we'll be in agreement with Tara Burns.
We're totally in agreement with that. Can you just flash it up again, Jack, please?
I will, yeah. So I suppose halfbacks, you'd have Burns, Hannon, Richie Reid, Paddy Deegan, John Conlon, David Ryan, Dave McInerney, Fintan Burke, Mannion, Joyce would probably be the halfback line there.
Yeah, of course. Dermot Ryan was a player that had a very, very good season, but he's in direct competition with Dermot Burns, so that's a no-no. Yeah. Declan Hannon at centre halfback. I think the value of Declan Hannon more often than not goes undervalued and under the radar. I think he will probably come under pressure. A case can be made for Kieran Joyce of Cork, but I think it might be a year or two too soon for him. I think probably at the end of the day they'll opt for Padraig Mannion of Galway, maybe.
Yeah, that's the line I have. David Burns, I think, is a shoe-in. I think Declan Hannon should be a shoe-in anyway. I don't think there should be any dispute there.
Of course I do. Of course I think he should be a shoe-in, but it's not what we think. It's what that august body what they think, So, yeah. And I'd be going for David McInerney at left halfback with Clare.
If you were picking it, or you think they will?
No, what they will? Yeah.
I think Mannion. I think Padraig Mannion will get it. Judging by their picks. If it was me picking, I know Joe Cooney didn't play. He played probably more forward, but he played a share in halfback. I go with him. But what we think is the Burns Hannon will be named 100%. You're thinking Dave McInerney from Clare. I think Padraig Mannion from Galway will get the nod.
I'm saying that Padraig Mannion. Well, I think the three will be Dermot Burns, Padraig Mannion, and David McInerney.
You don't think Hannon will get it?
No, I don't. I don't think that. I don't know, but he should. There's no doubt not about it.
Oh, I think Declan will definitely get one. Could be wrong now, but I think he will get one. Into midfield, for me anyway, these are the two I'd pick, and I think they'll be named as well. Adrian Mullen, Kilkenny, Dave Fitz, Clare.
Yeah, I couldn't argue with that. David Fitzgerald had an absolutely fantastic year, an incredible year. Was really what an engine he was there for Clare at the centre. A case can be made, of course. A strong case can be made for Will O'Donoghue. Dara Fitzgibbon had a decent year as well. Don't forget that.
Tom Monaghan was very good for Galway, in fairness.
Yeah. Tom Monaghan was very, very good for Galway. Very, very good for Galway.
Yeah, competitive six there. I think Fitz and Mullen were a bit ahead, but I do have William O'Donoghue written down. I think he just kind of goes under the radar. Dave Fitz and Mullen score a lot, which is an obvious thing, but what the work Will Donoghue does outside of tennis probably goes unnoticed somewhat. But I think Mullen and Fitz will get it. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I think so.
Into the forwards then. So nominees: Grant Hegarty, Kyle Hayes, Tom Morrissey, Aaron Gillan, Seamus Flanagan, Limerick, TJ Reid, Owen Cody, Kilkenny, Conor Whelan, Cathal Mannion, Joe Cooney, Galway, Tony Kelly and Shane O'Donnell from Clare. Then Robbie Flynn, Cork, Desi Hutchison, Waterford, Noel McGrath, Tip, Lee Chen, Wexford, Donald Burke, Dublin, and Killian Doyle, Westmeath. Half forward line, Matt, we'll start with. TJ Reid, I suppose, is a hurler of the year nominee. Have you in the half forward line?
Yeah, well, no, I've got Rod Hegarty and I had Kyle Hayes and Tony Kelly in the half forward line in that order.
Well, I have Hegarty and Hayes 10 to 11, and I had Reid 12. I do have Tony Kelly 13, but we'll get that in a minute. But no disputing Grant Hegarty or Kyle Hayes, really. Hayes probably took a bit longer to readjust to 11, but he was phenomenal in Croke Park. And Grant Hegarty was brilliant all year, don't get me wrong, but 1-5 in All-Ireland final would nearly get you it alone. But no real, I suppose, question on that. Them two there, definitely, the Limerick boys.
Yeah, they would be my three now. As I said, I'd be going Hegarty. Well, I think they'll go Hegarty, Hayes, and Tony Kelly. No,
as I said,
I've had cases made for Shane O'Donnell of Clare, Noel McGrath. There are a number of players there that you could make a case for, but I think that's the likely composition of that, possible composition of the half every time.
Yeah, I suppose with the forwards, they're probably more fluid in the fact that you could probably play a share of them in the half or full forward line. Obviously TJ Reid and Tony Kelly will never stay still. They'll move around. Lee Chin is another one there, just looking at that list. But my full forward line, what I think they're going to go with is Tony Kelly at 13, which could be swapped with TJ Reid at 12, makes no odds. Aaron Gillan full forward and Conor Whelan of Galway in the corner is how I think they'll go. Your thoughts?
Aaron Gillan, TJ Reid, and Cathal Mannion.
Yeah, I suppose we do
I'm
have.
a very, very big fan, as you know, of Conor Whelan.
Yeah.
But I think in the last year he did not make the same impact as he had in previous years. And but he's to me, Conor Whelan is an absolute out and out outstanding hurler, absolutely outstanding hurler. But I'm leaning towards Cathal Mannion. I thought he had a great year for Galway.
Yeah, I thought Cathal Mannion was brilliant. I think we're kind of decided Galway will get that number 15 spot. I suppose Seamus Flanagan will be one that will feel hard done by there.
After the Munster final in which he scored 8 points from play like that, that was a compelling case in itself for All-Star inclusion.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But again, we qualify what we're saying by saying that we're second guessing.
Oh yeah. Into Young Hurler of the Year nominees, you've Kieran Joyce from Cork, Mikey Butler, and Owen Cody Kilkenny. Owen Cody obviously won it last year. If you were to pick your choice,
I think it will be Mikey Butler.
Yeah, I think it'll be Butler as well.
I would make a very, very, very strong case for Kieran Joyce.
Yeah, he was
very
very
very good player. A real player, a real big player in the making is Kieran Joyce, no question about it. But I think Mikey Butler will be disappointed in the All Stars, but I think he probably will be named. He'll be named as the Young Hurler of the Year. He had a great year, no question about it. I'm not disputing it for 1 minute, but his problem with getting an All-Star is that there's a certain gentleman from Bruff called Mr. Finn.
Yeah,
who doesn't do second to anybody, Jack. So
I think it would be a fair compromise to get Young Hurler of the Year. It happened with Kyle. Obviously in 18 he missed out on an All-Star place, but he got Young Hurler of the Year, and sure he's only in his third All-Star on Friday night now. So I think that would be a fair compromise for Mikey Butler to miss out on the All-Star, but get Young Hurler of the Year. And obviously then the big one, Matt, Hurler of the Year, looking for a Limerick man for the 4th time in 5 years after Keane Lynch won the first in 18. You've Diarmaid Byrnes, Barry Nash, and TJ Reid. You know, I think last year was fairly unanimous that Keane was the best hurler in the country. You know, I had the best performances to go with it. But this year, I think it's a lot closer this year. You know, you can make really just arguments for any of those three.
You can make absolutely compelling arguments for all three, but I think at the end of the day, it will come down. And now this is not decided by a selection committee. It's decided by a vote of their fellow players, which in itself puts a bit of uncertainty in it, Jack. But yeah, I'm going for Dermot Burns. I think he had an absolutely fantastic year, and like Dermot Burns has had a fantastic career, Jack. If you go all the way back to he captaining Limerick at under 21 level in 2015, and the part he played, and it was that victory that spawned the phenomenal success that we have enjoyed over the last 5 years, and it was one of the main building blocks, and he is one of them. And but look, this will be decided in performances in 2022 in isolation. What has gone before will not count for anything. But I just want to make that point because Dermot Burns has made such a contribution to Limerick's success and the glory that we have enjoyed over the last almost a decade now between under 21 and senior. But his performances, I thought his performances during 2022 were off the scale, Jack. You know, his phenomenal scoring record and his overall play. And there was one point there in particular, I think, that was he cut the puck out, just put it back over the bar. It's only special players do that, and players on really on top of their game. And I really thought he was really the outstanding performer of 2022. Now Barry Nash was not too far behind him. Barry has had a fantastic year. A fantastic year. And it's just unfortunate that two greats of Limerick hurling that are going to head for it, and that one of them are going to be disappointed. But of course, don't discount TJ Reid.
Yeah.
The vagaries of the ballot box. So,
true. And look,
my opinion,
you wouldn't begrudge him. Yeah, you wouldn't begrudge TJ, but I just don't think this year he was as good as the two lads, and winning the All-Ireland is what you go out to do, and TJ nearly single-handedly did it. But I think Dermot would get it. I think he's totally deserving winner. But if I was picking it, I'd go.
I think he will, and I wish him that it would be a fitting reward for Dermot because he as I say, what he has done has been phenomenal.
Yeah, I'd probably go with Barry myself. I just like the story of, he was in the forwards and kind of liver, and then came in half back and then in cornerback and kind of revolutionised how Limerick play. But you mentioned the longevity of Diarmaid Byrnes, and he's been a key man in the entire run. You wouldn't begrudge either one getting it. I think Diarmaid will get it, and totally deserving winner.
Absolutely not. Barry Nash, and like we saw the type of performances that Barry Nash put on in the county championship, which were again off the scale, absolutely fantastic. And again, we saw in that particular championship and through the course of the Limerick Championship, we saw the versatility of Barry Nash. And even becoming the South Liberties free taker. And just absolutely, there is no end to that man's versatility. It's as simple as that, Jack.
Yeah, no, two brilliant hurlers, equally deserving. Probably going to be Dermot's to get this year, but who's to say that Barry won't come back next year and win it? But I mean, those are our selections. What we think is going to happen at the All-Stars, it'll be tomorrow evening by the time this comes out. But I think if we were choosing Matt, we'd have 15 Limerick All-Stars. I think it's fair to say. But
Of course.
moving on, the best of luck to everyone. And obviously, Cian Sheehan will be there as well, Matt. We'll know Friday morning before the All-Stars whether Cian gets one or not. I think just with the Limerick being knocked out in the qualifiers certainly works against him. But again, huge, I suppose, praise to Cian for being nominated for an All-Star. Ian Corbett was nominated in 2020, again showing the fruits of Limerick's work.
Oh yeah, and
in football,
you know, we got a snapshot of what Cian Sheehan was all about in the county semi-final on Sunday. Like he's an absolute born leader, and he has energy levels that are simply phenomenal. The amount of ground that he covers, an excellent footballer, and I certainly wish Cian the very, very best of luck. And I second guessing these people. I think he's an outsider, but how much we would love if he just got it, you know.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant. But I suppose after 2 years away, I think just everyone that has the chance to go, I hope they enjoy their night, you know, because there's a lot of players that have been nominated now for the last few years that have never experienced the All-Star banquet. I'm sure it's a very enjoyable night, so hopefully they enjoy it and that Limerick, you know, gets a nice few awards and hopefully an award in football and hurling. But there remains to see. But the best of luck to, you know, everyone going there, but especially Limerick contingent in Dublin on Friday night. To round out the podcast, as always, Matt, we'll have our predictions. Already got yours for the hurling in the previous podcast. I'll just go through last week's results. Back Newcastle to win by 3, and that's exactly what they did. And that give you, even though I had one more right than you still got more points, 6 versus 5, and there were run out of games to look forward to. But both went for Newcastle, Croke, and I had a Dare and the Pierce come through their respective semi-finals in football and hurling, and you had Kieran's come through Kaleedy. I went for Kaleedy after the quarterfinals, but that's the state of play at the moment. It'll rehash there the senior hurling final. Your prediction, or I can tell you, I have it written down here.
Kilmallock a point.
Kilmallock by 1 was your prediction, and then in the hurling, the Premier Intermediate hurling.
What are you giving Kilmallock in the Piercing?
Well, I went the Piercing by a point, but I did say that it would go to extra time. But it is to be finished on the day, so I went the Piercing by 1 solitary point. But again, there's a full preview of that.
I know you're going for Bruff by 2. I'll go for Bruff by 3.
Yeah, in the Premier Intermediate, Monaleen versus Bruff. I went 2, and you're going by 3. So moving into the football, and you can, you know, give your reason behind it. But Drum versus the Piercing, a winner by how much?
Drum Bradford by 2.
Drum
I think
by
they've
2.
hit a rich vein of form. There's a good lot of experience in the team. There's a good blend in the team, and I think they'll just shade it because, you know, the like of Derry McCarthy and Garrett Noonan, as we've already spoke about, the Noonans, Michael O'Sullivan, you know, there's a wealth of experience in the squad, and you know, I was doubtful about him up along, even in the semi-final. I was doubtful about him, but they certainly have convinced me that they probably have the credentials to return to senior football in 2023. I'm going for them to win the final by 2 points.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, and it still just have a feeling for the Pierce League. I've had it for the share of the championship. They've obviously done well with it before, and they've had 2 weeks now, and I'm going to go to Pierce League by 2. You know, if you're going to get promoted after coming down, it's the first year is the year to do it, and I think the Pierce League will do it. And obviously the other game among St. Paul's versus Glengarry in the Junior A Football Championship final.
I'm going Glengarry by 2.
And you know what? I'm going Glengarry by 3. I've seen them relatively recently. They only won the junior last year, but as I said, they were kind of a coming team for a long time. You know, and I think they'll get the job done. But Munger, having cried out for silverware in football, they've had a lot of it underage, as you mentioned, so could go either way. But again, for the finals, I think the largest margin of victory is 3 points we're predicting. A lot of 1s and 2s inside there. It makes for a very entertaining weekend, Matt.
Does certainly. We're looking forward to it, Jack. Roll on the games.
Definitely. Yeah, so we have 3 on Saturday. Drumna Piercing 3 o'clock in Skeeton, Munger St. Paul's and Ballingarry is on in Croom, and Brough and Monaleen is on in Kilmallock. And then Sunday, the big one at 4:15, back in the Gaelic grounds where it belongs, Piercing versus Kilmallock. As I said, we have the full preview of the hurling finals on the other podcast. But for now, Matt, a huge thank you to you. I know we've had back-to-back recordings here now. I changed my t-shirt so to make it look as though we did doing it at the same time because we're going back days. But a huge thank you to you, Matt. Enjoyable weekend, hopefully in store for everyone. Hopefully the weather is okay and that whoever's teams come through the final. But again, thanks everyone for listening, and thank you to you, Matt. We'll be in touch next week to look back on those finals and look forward to 4 more. So thank you.
The impression again we get out of what you put into it's like a walk of life. If you're good enough, go out and get it, no more about it.
Not so much control in the centre of the field from Kilkenny as Richie Bennett sends it high and over the bar.
Your mother sends you down to the shop for a pound's worth of goods and she gives you 50 pence. You can't get the pound's worth of goods, can you?
Just about kept in. Oh, well done, Shawnee Buckley. To do that to Tommaso Sheahy, he deserves to score from here. One of the highlights of the Sunday game.
Limerick went out there from the word court today. No more about it. They made all the running, that was it. Put the ball over the bar and the back of it, and that's it. No ifs, no buts.
Is there much time left? We have a couple of injuries. Here comes Kieran Curry. Curry leading the charge of the Light Brigade. 45 metres out. He's a chance to score. He's put it hard. He's put it over.
There's no sympathy in this game for anybody.